Well, good morning, gents.
Good morning.
And we are rolling here. Well, fall is among us. We're here. I noticed this morning the thermometer on my mirror that's connected to the outside of my Jeep, 38 degrees on the way to. Yeah, of course it was early when I got here, but that's a marked change. You know, vest and long shirt this morning. Got my woolies on, and here we are. Here we go again.
Might not hit 90 today.
Oh, I don't think it'll hit 90 today. No.
I think we've seen our last 90. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I was in Red Feather yesterday, and the leaves are, you know, most of the aspens now are, the leaves are off. There's a few stragglers of gold left, but I was thinking, this is the sun. The way the sun is now, it's starting to look late. You know, later in the year, the shadows and
See
stuff.
the moon come up last night?
Yeah.
See that movie?
Oh, the moon was out last night.
Yeah, it was only 2 nights ago.
Well, we're just gabbing here. We're hobnobbing, so.
Fall is fun.
Yeah, fall is fun. It's beautiful in Colorado. You know, I don't know about you guys, but I think the sky looks bluer in the fall. And, you know, I don't know. What do you think, Dick? Well, we don't have, the smoke's gone. Dick, the painter, watercolorist, what do you think? Do you think the sun is the light?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Kind of a cobalt blue.
Yeah, cobalt.
And then when you see it against like aspen, the difference in values accentuates the vision that you get in your eyes.
There you go. See, we heard it right from the master.
Well, there's a song about it, you know.
Also,
I can see clearly now, the smoke is gone.
Okay. Moving right along.
Okay, we're 2 minutes into it, so. All righty, well, we're continuing Jacob's, what is a man? That's what is a man? Week 19. And you've seen this slide, for several weeks. We're going to try to create uniformity. We are here. This is going to appear. You've seen this. A review. Where we are thus far, Genesis 32, 24 through 32. And just hitting some high spots here. Jacob is at a transformational juncture in his life. Now, this is from my opinion. I think that I'm interpreting what is occurring here in this Genesis 32, 24 through 32 as a life-changing occurrence, and I'm interpreting it that way. So therefore, how we view what follows, you know, for the sessions to come, will be looked at in that light. So I think this was really brought about change in his life, and it's described as a wrestling match. Number 2, he engages in the struggle of the wrestling match. In doing so, he is overcoming what we have labeled as his imprinted separateness. That's a term that I've kind of coined. I kind of thought that up. Imprinted separateness. And the idea being that we are imprinted as we walk through life with the way that we respond to life, and we are imprinted a certain way. Last week, well, here we go. Who Jacob has made himself to be. I won't go to last week. Number 3, he prevails through 3 things. He engages in the struggle. That is key. That is what we think of a wrestling match as. The objective is to overcome the opponent, but that is, in my mind, what I'm trying to submit to you is that's not the idea. It's actually the engagement in the process is where he is prevailing. He continues to daybreak, number 2, and then he allows himself to receive something new. Remember, he's blessed and he is. He walks differently, which is interesting. last week we looked at Jacob's imprints. Remember, we got into our tables and we looked at occasions in his early developmental years that impacted his behavior later on in life. That's what an imprint is. And so we looked at his imprints last week. And that really sets us up for what separateness looks like in you and me. And this is how, I'm going to give a little graphic across here with some animation. And this, I'm illustrating how I think it works. Now, guys, you got to take this as, I'm an electrician, okay? And I'm talking about some human development stuff that I know that I'm looking out at the crowd, and many of you are much more qualified than me to talk about this from a clinical, I'm not trying to go clinical here, but by way of observation and me and what I see around me, this is how I think it works. Now, not exclusive, but as an example, or rather, how it doesn't work. Okay, and you'll get it. How it works, this idea of separateness, or how it doesn't work. So first of all, this is going back from last week. You and I have, all of us have life occurrences, experiences, all the way through life. And if you and I were pressed with the question, identify a handful of life occurrences that have dramatically impacted you, either for positive or negative, you and I could actually create that list. And that's a great exercise. What memories do you have that have dramatically impacted you as a human being? Life occurrences. Well, some of those occurrences have negative emotion attached to those. Those would be negative things that have occurred, some traumatic, some maybe grudgingly over time, it could be a number of different things, but some of these life occurrences, if you were to look at those and label that handful, some of those have negative emotion. That negative emotion is a key word here. And notice how the graphic shows that it's much more dynamic. Remember last week I used the little example of the clay and the stamp. Here are imprints into the moldable clay as we are, younger. The moldable clay means we're pliable, and these imprints dramatically affect us. And as I did last week, what is the imprint?
S.
S, and it's the same as here. So we're imprinted in a direct correlation, one-to-one relationship. We're imprinted with this. So that's the idea of an imprint. And some of those are, these are just generic, but some of those are actually negative, and they have tremendous power over how we view life and relationships. So out of that then comes the last piece, that it's the negative emotion that, in my opinion, is what defines what separateness looks like in you and me. We looked at Jacob's imprints last week, and those having a molding effect on his later life, and I think the same is for you and I. Now, all this has bearing on what we're studying, believe me. But we're going to take today, and we're going to look at 5 imprint models that I didn't come up with these. These are out of a book called How We Love. And Everett turned me on that book, and it is a really great book. And in that book, the authors defined 5 models of how we love, but I have adapted that same idea because it's really 5 ways we, because of our humanness and our conditions, 5 ways that we attempt to love. And I would call them broken attempts to love. And I've attached the term, I think they all represent our separateness. Different ways you and I represent this separateness. So I'm gonna go through these. Notice on the slide, each of them are just generically labeled imprint 1. They do have names, but I chose to not use the names like the authors, but I've used most of the content to describe the different variations of the imprints. And notice how I've got it depicted that they're each different shapes and different colors. And I think that, at least in this book that I read, and that Everett's read, he builds a pretty good case that we can pretty much identify with one of these 5 models. Tatsi, did you have a question?
No.
Okay, all right.
I was just taking notes.
Okay. Oh. Well, I've got these, you know, very rarely do I have a handout, but there's a lot of content here, and I'd like, I've got each of these slides right here, so could you hand these out so you guys can follow, and then you'll be taking these with you to think it through and kind of work with this idea a little bit for the following week here. So this morning, the goal is just to review the 5 imprints, talk briefly, and then the goal here is then to give you guys these and then to review the content on your handout. And I know it's really small, I know that. And what I'm going to ask you to do, guys, is primarily focus up here. Focus up here, guys. And then as we review these, if you go, wow, I really resonate with that, go ahead and exit on your sheet. And of course you'll be able to take these with you. But I don't really want you to be reading ahead, please. Just stay focused up here, okay? That's why I don't like handouts, because a lot of guys are made to, I want to get through the problem, I want to get through it. Well, no, I'd rather have you just focus up here. So each of the imprints, you'll see the picture, the graphic of what the shape, and then each of them will follow these 3 pieces of information. So first of all, I'm going to describe this, my imprint, imprint 1. I am not aware of, or I tend to minimize or avoid negative emotions. There's the term. These are all dealing with negative emotions, how we process negative emotions. Or avoid negative emotions in myself and others. So there's an avoidance piece there. I am self-reliant, and I expect others to be the same. It's the grid that I'm working on. Well, you know, I can do it. What's wrong with you? You do it too. So towards self, I was never asked as a child to talk about my feelings. That's probably true of many of us. I don't recall opportunity for self-reflection, so my feelings are minimized, restricted, or devalued. Okay, we never talked about this at home. Okay, towards others, it does not occur to me to ask about how you feel. Now, at our age, we probably learned this through School of Hard Knocks, but if we can identify with this particular imprint, we had to learn it, because naturally we don't ask about others. I just assume they are fine or will solve problems on their own. So that's imprint number 1. And then imprint number 2 is I give in and I appease others Now, you're going to probably start putting labels on these as you go, and that's fine. But now number 2 is it's about appeasing others. And I do that to avoid dealing with negative emotions. There's that term again. It's how we deal with the negative. I use my niceness, that's a key term here, as the means to appease others and to distract from the negative emotions in myself. You know, let's keep the peace here. Let's all be nice. Now, how that manifests itself towards self and others, first of all, self. I have been other-focused since childhood. Other-focused. Not out of a healthy sense of other-focused, you know, the kind of men we want to develop into, but because out of woundedness. I'm other-focused because I was never given permission to think about myself. So I am unaware of my own feelings and needs. I am a poor receiver, often unaware of my own anxiety that drives my need to fix. Now, as I say some of these key words, your mind is going, I know a person just like that. A fixer. I indirectly attempt to read the thoughts and feelings and nonverbal communication of others to determine if they are happy or unhappy. Why would this person do this? This kind of person, we've looked at this. Why would this person be motivated to try to read others? What? Any ideas?
Avoid the negative emotions.
Yeah, to avoid the negative. It's very important that this person feels like there's a sense of harmony and
Go with the flow.
yeah, there you go. Nonverbal, looking at, trying to discern if they're happy or unhappy, and I know that you guys know people, someone like this, and then you get asked all these indirect questions about how you feeling, how you doing, and it's kind of this dance that's go around it. You know what I'm talking about, Bill?
Well, I'm thinking this is the very negative side of what we call a peacemaker.
Yeah.
I'm coming in here to break down the hostility and make peace here because I don't like hostility.
Peace at all costs. But let's not talk about
talk
about the real stuff.
Right.
You know, the whole idea here is we got to bring the real stuff out, and we are taught because of the human condition to not deal with the hard stuff, and we deal with it 5 different ways is what I'm proposing here. So now the question is going to be, gee, can I be accommodating? You can be whatever you want to be. I don't care. But these there's 5. These people are clinically trained people in this discipline, and they say, well, we're going to stick these 5 models, and we can probably each of us can most identify with one of them. When you did this exercise,
Still good.
still yes, and this is worthy of still doing it.
A lot of work to try to figure this all out.
Number three is I am angry but unaware of my underlying emotions. I have little awareness of my anger impact on others. So there's an unawareness of the anger. I see my emotions as valid and other negative emotions as invalid. What thoughts, any comments here? Can you?
A drive to be right.
Yeah, the high need to be right, yeah. And, to try to carry on a negotiation with a person like this is very, very difficult. I mean, they don't have the ability. It's my way or the highway. I mean, So I have been others focused since my youth. I'm only aware of how others have hurt or angered me. I have little awareness or ability to reflect on how my behavior contributes to relational dynamics. You know, just there's an unawareness and very rigid. I have little ability to put myself in another's shoes or to listen to and understand the perspective of another. I'm preoccupied with how others hurt or anger me. Okay, so there's number 3. Unawareness and an underlying anger, and what that develops is a real rigidness in view of relationships. And here's number 4. I respond to negative emotions in myself with a heightened need to control. There's a key word there, control. Negative emotions in others cause anger as I attempt to discount and stop others from expressing negative emotions. Here's a little insight into this. I experienced humiliation as a child. You know, I'm thinking of a person that I know who was jumped and beat up as a kid, and that imprint dramatically affected his entire life to this day. It's just how he has cast life and how he's dealt with life. Anger is the emotion I use to cover up all vulnerable emotions. Self-reflection would mean facing pain, so it's avoided. You know, pain is not good, so I avoid it, and I'm trying to maintain control here. Over here, I was not listened to as a child. I learned to maintain control so insecurities would not arise. I have little or no ability to explore or understand feelings of others. There we go. Kind of heavy-duty stuff, huh? Yeah. Okay, the last one is number 5, of course, and when the description, when others express negative emotion, it signals danger or a reminder of my own unresolved pain. I attempt to stop the expression or I withdraw. So when negative emotions come up, there's like this siren that goes off. And there's, man, you actually physically feel differently. And, you know, this is bad, 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 bad. And so I either attempt to stop it or I withdraw. I just remove myself. I never learned how to deal constructively with negative emotions. Okay, over here. I have too much pain to self-reflect. Depression or disassociation keep my feelings from surfacing. Nothing helps. I see little value in telling others what I think or feel. Over here. Now, then others, towards others, I have little emotional skill. I have experienced, my experience tells me that I've experienced feelings, the opinions and thoughts of others as critical and negative. You know, you'll never amount to much. You know, I've heard a lot of dads. I've heard that statement. A father speaking such negative stuff, and after a while we start believing it. I am not motivated to listen to more of the same. Understandably, you know, if I perceive the thoughts, the feelings, the opinions and thoughts of others as critical and negative, why would I want to keep subjecting myself to that? So those are the 5 imprints. heavy duty stuff. But guys, these are the, what we're doing is we're applying this transformational time in Jacob's life to us. That we are wrestling with stuff that has occurred throughout our life, and the power of Jesus Christ, the gospel, is there to set us free from these things. But the way that occurs is through this engagement. It's a struggle. It's a wrestling match, because this stuff, these imprints, run deep. And we'll do anything and everything to not let it go. We'd rather be wallowing around in these types of things because it's unsafe to, it's what we know, and it's unsafe to do anything else. Does that make sense? I mean, that's at least from my perspective. So what the assignment, you actually have an assignment this week. And the assignment is to, and you've got the handout. So to think through these things, to read the text with your, some of you'll need a magnifying glass, I know, but I wanted to get them all on one page because I am too cheap to give you 5 handouts. Ink is expensive, so just joking. I thought it'd be easier. I thought it'd be easier to have it all on one sheet. So, the assignment is: which of the 5 imprint models can you most relate to? Okay, and I realize, can I be 2? Yeah, again, you can be however you want. I don't really care. But which of the 5 can you most resonate with? And then go with that. Now, this is a little different than what you and I have read. What do you have comments on that?
Well, I just think that in trying to decide, as I've read that book, what my imprint is from that perspective, those long lists of questions and so on help, because it's, as you say, it's very deep and.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's all.
Well, depending on the interest level that the group has and that you have individually, we're only going to spend a week or 2 on this. Yeah, So then we're going to move on. But if you really want to delve into it, that is a really good book. I bought the audio version because I'd rather listen, but I have the workbook. And in that workbook, it goes into, pages and pages of questions, and it's designed really for couples to work together on this. But this is exactly what they're talking about, is this idea of separateness and how we manifest it, each of us kind of uniquely, and we customize it. And here are 5 imprint models. So
what's the name of the book again?
How We Love, and the author, I forget the author's name. I'll close out, John, and then I've got it here on my iPad. I can pull it up. So, all right. So we'll see you guys next week. We're finished a little bit early today, but take those, and we'll work with these next time. So, have a good week.